Okay, hello to all of you. We're going to discuss chapter number 4. So let me go into the slideshow mode. So in this chapter, we are basically going to talk about nutrition, the food we eat, what does the food has, what we eat, what kind of nutrients it has, and how does that food gets digested, and the use of enzymes and all that. So, okay. So if you read in your book, this book starts, the chapter starts with case study about a project called Peanut Butter Project, and it's a story about Dr. Mannery, who has been trying to end malnutrition in Africa. So you can see this is the African children, and they are malnourished, and this is Dr. Mannery, and he has been helping these children to end malnutrition. So first of all, the first question is, what is malnutrition? It's very important to understand what malnutrition actually means. It's a medical condition resulting from the lack of essential nutrients in the diet. Okay, so often but not always associated with starvation. So starvation and malnutrition, these are two different things. Starvation basically means when you are not getting food, and malnutrition is when you are not getting essential nutrients in the food. So suppose there's a situation where you're getting a lot of potatoes to eat, so you are eating potatoes. So potatoes are very rich in starch, so you are getting the food to eat. So starch, potatoes have starch. Starch is a polysaccharide, it will give you energy, but this food does not have the essential nutrients. So the if you are only on a potato diet, which means you're only getting starch, you are definitely getting energy, you will survive, but you are malnourished because potatoes do not have all the essential nutrients. So malnutrition is the number one killer of children around the world, and more children die of malnutrition as compared to children dying of AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria combined. Okay, what does lack of food? Why does lack of food lead to malnutrition? So basically, as I said, basically the food we eat. Why do we eat the food, right? So we eat the food 3 times a day. Why do we eat the food? Because food gives us energy, and energy is required to perform various activities during our day. So we are moving, we are doing activities, we are working, we are learning, so many activities going on, right? So this is at an organism level, and if we go to a cellular level, at the level of every cell, there are a lot of things going on at the cells level which require the energy. So that's why we eat food, because it gives us energy, and there are some basically the food has nutrients, and we are going to talk about there are macronutrients and there are micronutrients in the food, and they give us energy. So food contains nutrients, micro and macro. I'm going to discuss very shortly. Nutrients, the chemical building blocks our bodies need to live, grow, and repair themselves, and the food gives us energy. So basically food eating, it's giving us two things. It is giving us energy, which is required to perform all the activities of the life, plus it is as our body is growing, repairing, our body also needs the building blocks. So our basically we are nothing but cells. We are made of trillions of cells, and every cell is basically made of the macromolecules like proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, and nucleic acids. So the food we eat not only gives us energy, but it also gives us these chemical building blocks, because our body grows, it repairs. So for that, our body needs to make more cells, and cells are formed by the process of cell division. And for the cells to divide, or for the cells to duplicate, these basic building blocks are required, and these building blocks come from the food we eat. So remember that we are nothing but cells, and our cells are made of 4 macromolecules: carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. And the food we eat, is made of the same biomolecules, which includes your lipids, proteins, and the carbohydrates. So the food we eat, these big molecules, these macromolecules, we have studied in chapter number 2, these proteins, lipids and carbohydrates, they get metabolized, and they are, like for example proteins, they are converted into amino acids, and when the proteins are converted into amino acids, energy is released, and that energy is used for performing various activities. And the amino acids, they are used as building blocks to make more cells. Okay, so as I just said, in our food we have nutrients. There are two kinds of nutrients, macronutrients and the micronutrients. So what are macronutrients? So macronutrients are those nutrients that the organism must take in large amounts to maintain the health, and they include carbohydrate, proteins and lipids. So nutrients that organisms must ingest in large amounts to maintain health. So macronutrients are carbohydrate, proteins and lipids. Food provides macronutrients. So the food we eat includes various things, and very important to know, we need to eat a balanced diet. So we need to have all the nutrients in our food. A balanced diet includes all the nutrients needed for full health, which includes fruits and vegetables, dairy products, oils, meat, fish, beans, whole grains. So we need all these things because they are rich in different macronutrients. Like the grains, they are rich in carbohydrates, vitamins and minerals. I'm going to talk about what are vitamins and minerals. They come under micronutrients. Then fruits and vegetables, they are high in complex carbohydrates, vitamins and minerals. Then the dairy products, the milk and yogurt and all that, so they are rich in proteins, fats, vitamins and minerals. Now oils, they are high in fats. Earlier people used to think like all the fats are bad, but now the new research has shown all the fats are not bad. Some of the fats are required by our body, especially the unsaturated, polyunsaturated fats are required. They are important for the growth of the cells. Meat, fish, beans, they are high in proteins, fats, vitamins and minerals. So this slide basically shows you the foods which are rich in carbohydrates, foods rich in proteins and foods rich in fats. So first category is the foods rich in carbohydrates. The fruits and vegetables, they are very rich in carbohydrates. Number 2, grains. Number 3, legumes. So you will see that the legumes, and there are some other things which are, like you can see this dairy products, they come under the category of proteins as well as the category of fats also. But if you see, this is the category of the food which is rich in carbohydrates. On the top comes fruits and vegetables. So which means that fruits and vegetables are very rich in carbohydrates, and then comes the grain, and then comes the legumes. So legumes has a third place in this category. And when it comes to the foods which are rich in proteins, so meats are on number 1. Meats are a very rich source of protein, and then comes the legumes, and then come the dairy and the eggs. Foods rich in fats, so the dairy and eggs, they come on the top when it comes to the fats. Then meats are the second, and the oils are the third. So as I just said, different foods are rich in different things. So if we talk about the animal products, they have more protein in them as compared to the plants. So if somebody wants to be on a high protein diet, then they should eat more meat and all that, because animal products, they have more protein per gram than the carbohydrates. So if we compare animal products and the plant products, so animal products are more rich in proteins, and the plant products are more rich in carbohydrates. So animal products contain more protein per gram than the carbohydrate, and most plant products contain more carbohydrate than protein. Okay, so basically this slide shows that the food we eat, see, she's eating an apple or any kind of food you can say. So our food we eat is having carbohydrates, proteins and the fats and the nucleic acids. So these are the macronutrients. So what happens to that food? We will be talking in more details in chapter number 6 about actually what happens to the food we eat and what reactions it goes through. So basically this is the food, these are macronutrients we are eating in our food. So they undergo metabolic reactions. So these carbohydrates, you can see they will be converted into they are converted into simple sugars, proteins are converted into amino acids, fats are converted to fatty acids and cholesterol, nucleic acids are converted into nucleotides. So all these things we have studied in chapter number 2. You can go back and check. So these are the monomers of these macromolecules or the polymers. And in the body, by the metabolic reactions, I'm going to talk about metabolic reactions are of two kinds, catabolic reactions and anabolic reactions. They get first of all converted into their monomers and energy is released, and then these monomers, they get converted into these macromolecules inside the body by the help of the anabolic reaction. So there are, under the metabolic reactions, there are two kinds of reactions: catabolic reactions, which are like breaking down reactions, and anabolic reactions are the building up reactions. So by the catabolic reactions, these macromolecules or the polymers first of all converted into the monomers, and energy is released, and then in the body they again back converted into molecules with the help of anabolic reactions, and they are used to make new cells, because we are nothing but cells. For the growth of the body, for the repair of the body, new cells need to be made, and these new cells are made of carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and the nucleic acids. So this is what basically it is showing. So these are converted into sugars, proteins are amino acids, fats into fatty acids and glycerol, nucleic acid into nucleotides, and they can be used, like sugars can be used for energy, and the cell surface molecules, because there are a lot of cell surface molecules which are nothing but glycoproteins. So sugars are used there. The amino acids, they get converted back into proteins, and those proteins become enzymes. They can be some structure proteins, and fatty acids, and so when the fats get converted to fatty acids and glycerol, they can form the phospholipids in the membrane, and nucleotides, they can form DNA and RNA, which is the genetic molecules, for the genetic information. So this is what we talked about. First is carbohydrates. They get broken into simple sugars used to build cell surface markers, energy storage molecules. Proteins, they get broken into amino acids used to assemble new proteins that have many different functions in the body. Fats, they get broken into fatty acids and glycerol used to build molecules that form cell membrane. Nucleic acids are not macronutrients. Basically, how do we define nucleic acids? Because nucleic acids are present in the nucleus, and nucleic acids are in the food if we are eating basically some like if you're eating plant-based, like if you're eating spinach. Now spinach is made of cells. Inside the cells there's a nucleus, so that way we are eating a little bit of nucleic acid. So nucleic acid is not considered a macronutrient, because that we don't eat in large, we don't need that in large quantities, and it is provided in small amounts. So nucleic acids are not macronutrients. So macronutrients include your proteins, carbohydrates, and the lipids, provided in small amounts, broken down into individual nucleotides used to build DNA and RNA. Okay, so in the food we eat, there are some essential nutrients. So what are essential nutrients? Essential nutrients are those nutrients which our body cannot synthesize. The cells cannot synthesize them. Nutrients that must be obtained through diet, means essential nutrients are those nutrients which our body cannot make, so those nutrients need to be obtained through diet. Essential amino acids, so basically proteins, as we have already discussed, proteins are made of 20 amino acids, and out of them 9 cannot be synthesized by our body, so they be in our food. Okay, so going back to the project which Dr. Mannery has done in the Africa to solve the problem of malnutrition. He tried basically various things, but then he came up with a with this product called peanut butter. Basically, the project is called Peanut Butter Project, and it is basically a kind of a food. So it's a food made of peanut butter, full fat milk, sugar, and vegetable oil. So this is a kind of a food which is given to these children, and it has all the essential nutrients, because this food, which it's kind of a bar which is given to these children, and it is made of peanut butter, full fat milk, sugar, and vegetable oil. So it is a kind of a balanced diet. It has all the nutrients which are required. So this, and it is also called RUTF. What is RUTF? It's called ready to use food therapeutics. Therapeutics means a therapy. Therapy is to therapy means to treat some disease. So it's a kind of this bar which is made of peanut butter, full fat milk, sugar and vegetable. It's a kind of a therapy which is given to these children who are suffering from the malnutrition. So this is again Dr. Mannery helping these children. So malnutrition, as I discussed, results from chronic undereating, especially up to age 2 years. The child lacks nutrients necessary for the chemical reactions for growth and development. So malnutrition is because of the lack of some specific nutrients. Now, as I said, now we are going to talk in more detail about the process of digestion. So in the food we eat, it has macronutrients, or also it has micronutrients. I'm going to talk about those. So macronutrients includes your carbohydrates, fats and your proteins, and in your micronutrients includes your vitamins and the minerals. We will be talking about those also. So macronutrients, when you eat, they undergo the process of digestion, and the process of digestion basically starts in our mouth and continue the digestive system. So basically it involves series of chemical reactions to break the bonds that hold food molecules together. So as I said, so the food we eat, first of all, it has these nutrients. These are big molecules. First of all, they get converted into monomers. Like proteins get converted into amino acids, carbohydrates get converted into simple sugars, nucleic acids get converted into nucleotides. So this is all happening because of this breakdown reactions are called the catabolic reactions. As I said, in our body there are two kinds of reactions going on: catabolic reactions, which are breakdown reactions, and anabolic reactions, which are the building up of reactions. Building reactions means as I said, the monomers which are formed. So the macromolecules, they get converted into monomers, energy is released. This is the catabolic reactions, and then these monomers, they build again and form these macromolecules, and these build again and form macromolecules by the process of anabolic reactions. And these macromolecules which are formed inside our body, they are used to make new cells in the body. So inside our body, inside our cells, there are some metabolic reactions going on, and all the chemical reactions occurring in the body is called metabolism or metabolic reactions. And then now there are two kinds of metabolic reactions: catabolic reactions, which are breakdown reactions; anabolic reactions, which are building up of reaction. Now for all these metabolic reactions, whether catabolic or anabolic reactions to take place, there is a need of enzymes. Okay, so these reactions cannot take place in the absence of enzymes. So we are going to talk about what is the role of enzyme, what does enzyme do. So first of all, this is basically showing you the catabolic reaction. So you can see this is a big molecule, macromolecule, and this macromolecule gets converted into smaller monomers. So it's just showing you here basically two monomers which are bonded by a chemical bond. It's just showing you here. So how does these, because for catabolic reactions the bonds needs to be broken. So how do these bonds are broken? These bonds are broken with the help of the enzyme. So this substrate binds on the enzyme, and on the enzyme this bond is broken, and these monomers, they get separated. Anabolic reactions, in the anabolic reactions you can see these are the so these are the building up of reactions in which these monomers, they are bonded with each other. So this is the enzyme, this is the active site. These two monomers, they're going to come and sit on the enzyme, and a bond will be created between them, and a macromolecule will be formed from these monomers. So these are anabolic reactions. So the key thing is catabolic reactions and the anabolic reactions, they need the help of enzymes. Now we're going to talk about some of the things about enzymes, what enzymes are and how do they speed up the rate of chemical reaction. So enzymes are the proteins that speed up the rate of a chemical reaction. So enzyme is mostly the enzymes are protein in nature. So enzymes are catalyst which can increase the rate of a chemical reaction. And every enzyme has a region on it which is called the active site, and on the active site binds the substrate. So let's talk about these definitions. Enzyme is a protein that speeds up a chemical reaction. Substrate is a molecule to which an enzyme binds and on which it acts. Active site is a part of the enzyme on which the active part is a region on the enzyme where the substrate comes and binds. Now, what does the enzyme do, and how does enzyme increases the rate of reaction? So it's a very important question. So basically, for any reaction to take place, there is a requirement of input of energy, and that input of energy is called the activation energy. So for any reaction to take place between the two substrates, there is an input of energy required, and that energy is called activation energy. And when those substrates get that activation energy, the reaction takes place between them and the products are formed. So the function of the enzyme is to lower the need of the requirement, or lower the activation energy, so that the reaction can take place. So that's a way how enzyme helps in the increasing the rate of reaction. So it basically lowers the activation energy. So catalysis is the process of speeding up of rate of a chemical reaction by enzymes. Activation energy is the energy required for a chemical reaction to proceed. So you can see here, so activation energy is energy that must be put into reaction in order to make it go. Enzymes reduce the activation energy in both catabolic and anabolic reactions, making them occur more rapidly. So you can see here, it's a very good example shown here. So suppose this is a graph basically. So this is the direction in which the reaction is, this is the progress of reaction, and this is total energy. So this is a reaction, this is the reactants, and this is the level of the energy of the reactants. So these reactants have to react and form some products, and the level of the energy of the products is this much. So for these reactants to react and form these products, there is an input of energy required, which is called activation energy. And how much is that? This is the level of the energy of the reactants. So they need an input of energy up to this level. Okay, up to this level. Only then they're going to react and form these products. Okay, but so it's like making this much long jump. So it's just showing you analogy. If somebody has to make that long jump to get through some barrier. Okay, and so as I said, the function of enzymes is to decrease or reduce the activation energy. So if these are reactants, okay, if these are reactants and this is the products, now they have to, in the presence of the enzyme, they just need this much input of energy, okay, to form the products. So the activation energy is reduced. So in this case, when the enzyme is not there, this much is going from here to here, this much is the input of activation energy required. This much is the input of activation energy required to form the products. But when the enzymes are there, only this much, going from here to here, only this much is the activation energy required. So it has, in the presence of the enzyme, the amount of energy, the amount of activation energy which is required is reduced. Okay, so it's just showing you that in this situation, this person has to make that much long jump. In this situation, it has to take that much, it's just taking a short jump. So that is the function of the enzyme. So enzymes are required in both catabolic and the anabolic reactions. Now coming to what are micronutrients. So you must have heard that we need to eat vitamins and we need to eat minerals in our food. So these minerals and the vitamins, they are called micronutrients because they are required in very small amount, but they are very much required for our good health. Now we are going to talk about vitamins. We are going to first of all talk about some of the examples of the vitamins and some of the examples of minerals and how they promote our health and what function actually they play in our cells or in the body. So for example, the mineral like calcium and phosphorus, they are important for building strong teeth and the bones. So calcium and phosphorus, they are important for building teeth and the bones. Now example of vitamin A. Vitamin A is required for good skin as well as for the vision. So now what do these minerals and vitamins do? Right, some people even take that supplement. So basically these vitamins and minerals, they are basically the helper of the enzymes. So there are a lot of chemical reactions going on in our cells, and our cells are actually operating because of all these chemical reactions, all these chemical metabolic reactions going on inside our cells. And all these reactions, they are being catalyzed by the enzymes, and these minerals and vitamins, they are actually required by the enzymes. For the proper functioning of the enzymes, these minerals and the vitamins, they are required. So that is why we need to eat these minerals and vitamins in our food, although we need them in very small quantities. That is why they are called the micronutrients. So for example, vitamin B9 or folic acid is an important coenzyme for an enzyme involved in DNA synthesis. Okay, so basically, as I said, they are helper of enzymes. They are also called prosthetic groups. They are of two kinds, cofactors and coenzymes. So these minerals and minerals are cofactors. So cofactors are inorganic enzyme helpers, and vitamins are organic enzyme helpers. So vitamins are called coenzymes and these minerals are called cofactors. So minerals act as cofactors, minerals like zinc, copper and iron, and vitamins act as coenzyme. So they are small organic molecules required to activate the enzymes. So as I just said, this is just a repetition. Minerals, they are inorganic elements required by organism for normal growth, reproduction, tissue maintenance. They include calcium, iron, potassium, organic molecules required in small amounts for normal growth, reproduction and tissue maintenance. Okay, so basically coming back to the peanut butter project, 95% of the hospitalized children who received peanut butter based RUTF recovered from malnutrition. And here is some data. If you want to go into the details how this project have helped the children there, you can go over it. Okay, balanced diet. So we have talked about what our food has. Our food has macronutrients and micronutrients. So basically we need everything in our food, and if you're eating a food which is deficient in any of these things, then it is not a balanced diet. So the importance of showing this project is also that this food which is given, which is a peanut butter RUTF, it is a balanced food. It has everything which is required for the normal health of these children. Okay, the last thing, we are going to connect this chapter to cancer, and because in this chapter we have talked about enzymes. Now I'm going to talk about some of the enzymes. So basically you just need to know about some of the enzymes which get overexpressed in cancer. And basically remember that cancer is a disease which is because of the abnormal cell division, abnormal division of the cells, in which there is aberrant cell division, cells divide aberrantly. And in cancer there is overexpression of some of the enzymes, and the overexpression of some of the enzyme makes these cells divide aberrantly. And here are some of the examples. I don't want you to go into the much details. You just need to know the name of some of the enzymes which get overexpressed in cancer. First of all, these are I'm going to talk about membrane proteins, which means these are enzymes which are embedded in the membrane. You know what membrane is. So these include EGFR2. These are two enzymes which are in the membrane and they get overexpressed in cancer. And then there are some enzymes which are involved in cell proliferation and cell survival. They include PI3 kinase, AKT and MAP kinases. So these are some of the enzymes which are involved in the cell proliferation and cell survival, and they get overexpressed, and because of that there is a abnormal cell division. That's all you need to know. And the last thing you need to know in this chapter is about the enzyme inhibitors, because as I said, there are some of the enzymes which get overexpressed in cancer. So in the clinic there are some drugs which are given for the treatment of cancer, and they're nothing but they are enzyme inhibitors, because of the overexpression of enzymes, cells grow aberrantly, they grow abnormally. So the therapy is the inhibitors of those enzymes, because if we can control the activity of these enzymes, which means we can control the abnormal cell division. So again, you need to know some of the names. This is a drug called gefetinib or Arisa, erlotinib, or it is marketed as Tarceva. So Arisa and Tarceva, these are the generic names, and they basically target the EGFR tyrosine kinase. And so this is basically it's a kinase, it's an enzyme, and this is also in the cell membrane. This is approved for the lung cancer. And then there is another drug called trastuzumab. It is basically an antibody, and its brand name is Herceptin. It is a monoclonal antibody used for the treatment of breast cancer, and it is basically inhibits the activity of the enzyme called HER2. That's all you need to know from this chapter. Okay, if anything not clear, just let me know.